Hi. Recently there was a Blue Sky challenge where you posted the covers of books that changed you or influenced you in some way, but you didn't explain why. So I thought I'd pick three of these books that did change me in some way and talk about the way they did. The first one I'm going to mention is written by someone I actually know, Tilda is Visible by Jane Tara. Now, why this changed me is I read this just before I turned 60, and a few years before I turned 60, I discovered the Fountain of Youth, known as a hernia operation. For years, I've been doing a hell of a lot of exercise to try to control my yo-yoing weight. But after the hernia operation, all that changed. Suddenly my body discovered metabolism. And I could do less exercise and actually get results. Before that, I couldn't open jars for decades. Suddenly, I was the one that could open jars. And what reading Tilda is Visible did for me, it's an urban fantasy about the way women of a certain age start feeling invisible in society. And in the book, they actually become invisible, literally. The book also takes on a lot of philosophical teachings and talks about aging in a beautiful light. And what this meant for me was that after I discovered the Fountain of Youth and was madly, getting exercise in because now my body was changing, it was slimmer, muscles were building. But then I got a fissure in my knee, which is a small crack under the kneecap. And I've also recently torn the tendon in my near my elbow. It made me accept my age again, probably because I know I still have possibilities. I know I now have a body that can change, but it allowed me to be my age and not worry too much about how I looked and go on this mad exercise run to try and improve my body. My body is aging the way it's probably supposed to, without the problem of the yo-yoing weight. The next book I'm going to mention is Generation X by Douglas Copeland. This was a big changer for me because when I moved to Sydney in 1986 from the Gold Coast, which is a coastal sunny town in Queensland, my parents couldn't understand why I wasn't purchasing real estate. The fact was that Sydney is an expensive city, and back then, more than half my wage was going on my rent. So it was hard to actually save money for a mortgage. Generation X told me that who my generation was and that we could never have what the boomers had. Of course, the generations after me have it worse. But it taught me not to feel guilty about working hard but not getting the promotions as fast or climbing up the ladder as fast as the generation before me. That it was okay. And as I once said to my dad when he saw the apartment we finally bought after I had a job where I had regular Sunday penalty rates and Monday overtime, he said, "Oh, one day you'll sell this and maybe buy a house or something." I said, "Dad, I'm Generation X. Chances are this may be my only home for life." And there was no guilt attached to it. The next book I'm going to mention is a non-fiction book, Infidelity and Other Affairs. The author's name is there on the cover. Her name's Kate. I'm worried I'll mispronounce her surname, so I'm not going to try. She wrote this book after she found out her husband was cheating on her, but her agent told her not to write it straight away, to leave it for a year or two, and then with insight, look back on those times and what you've learned from it. The thing I took from it, and I was actually on an aeroplane reading it, and after I read this quote, she quotes from someone else, and the quote is, "It is not our partner we are turning away from, but the person we have become when we have an affair behind our partner's back." Now, this has not been an issue in my 34-year relationship with my now husband. But what it did do is after I read that statement, I just was staring into space on the aeroplane. My husband woke up from a bit of a nap he had. Because, of course, we have gay friends who are younger than us, some in the friends with benefit category. And one of them especially likes to push me and my husband's boundaries. It hasn't amounted to anything. But I wondered why we haven't taken the bait. And the simple fact is that we've lived our life to the fullest, no matter what age we've been. And I feel this is true about people who haven't. They try to then make up for those lost years some way. But if you've really explored every age, every decade you've lived in, and what that age presents to you in your way of thinking, of the opportunities, of whatever, then you don't try to relive some part of your past because you've realised that age to its fullest. So there's a little vlog about 3 books that have influenced me.